Life of Love
Life of Love.
with Joy Wilson.
Hello, dear friends, and welcome to another episode of Life of Love. I'm so honored to have your ears and your attention, and I thank you for tuning in and sharing. And if you subscribe, that lets you know when new episodes come out. So that means the world to me. I'm working hard here to give you guys insight and feed your curiosity. So it's my pleasure to know you're out there and helping share this and being part of the light grid. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And I'm really excited to bring forth this message this week. First, I'm going to set my intention so everyone knows where I'm coming from, and we can ask for the highest good to come forward. And it also is something that you can incorporate in your life if you feel called, or take what leaves you. Take what serves you and leave what doesn't. And I totally understand. Here we go. I'm going to set our intention. I'm going to get quiet and into my heart and ground my feet. Dear God, Goddess, Creator, thank you for this opportunity. I ask you to work through us and for us to bring forth a message for the highest good so that we can be led by our intuition, our curiosity, our trust and faith to open doors that might have been closed, to see the joy around us and the abundance that can come in. I honor all of our helpers, and I call in my higher self and my angelic support of the highest light and love. And I ask that each person has the opportunity to feel their support in the way that resonates with them. And this I hold space for in this episode. And I'm so honored to have Catherine's team with us. And I believe we're going to have some insight from them. And I so cherish this time. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And so it is.
So it is.
So what happens when you stop chasing and start listening, really listening to your intuition? Today's guest, Catherine Cristani, did just that. She walked away from a traditional path to follow a deeper calling and now helps others do the same. She's a spirit writer, an intuitive healer, a coach, and a guide to help people lead a soul-led path. This conversation is going to be all about transformation and the quiet power of alignment. Catherine, thank you for being here on Life of Love.
Thank you for having me, Julie. And what a beautiful way to start an episode. I love it.
Well, thank you. I'm so delighted to have you here today. You're coming all the way from Australia and you stayed up late for us. So we want to honor your time and let everyone know that these connections are happening all over the globe. And I'm just really excited to be part of it. So thank you for saying yes.
You're very welcome. Thank you for saying yes to me coming on your show.
Great. What gave you the courage to leave a successful corporate allied health job and say, I'm just going to switch gears? I mean, you're still in the healing realm, but there's so much uncertainty and so many mountains to climb in this field of spirituality, intuition, and the unknown. So what was your kick in the pants to take that shift?
Well, I had two. I want to say, well, there's multiple. There's definitely a story here. So I never felt fulfilled. And it wasn't that I didn't love working with children. I was very blessed. I worked with children for nearly 2 decades as a speech language pathologist. And through that, I built...
Stop it. I'm a speech pathologist too.
I love this.
Yes, I worked at the Children's Hospital.
Yeah. So for nearly 2 decades, I worked with children.
Funny.
And most of them had autism spectrum disorder. I was like a beacon for it. And I feel it's just because I understood them when no one else really did. And at the same time, everyone would say to me, your job must be so fulfilling. And I'm like, it's really not. And I didn't know what it was. Yes, I celebrated the wins. Yes, I celebrated when kids shared their first word. And I was invested, I knew the kids' family. I knew their siblings. I knew what school I knew all those things, and I felt like part of the family, but at the same time, it never fulfilled me. I always felt there was something more. And so it was about I was going to see my naturopath, and as I was booking in, his partner had this new offering, and it was called the Project. And I was like, hey, I saw your, partner's got this new offering. And he goes, yeah, you should do it. And I'm like, okay. So I did. And she ended up, my first session, she did a channel for me, and basically said, hey, you've got this many guides and one of them's your family member. And I was like, oh my goodness, it's my great grandmother. And I was very close to my great grandmother. And so in that session, I was clearly ready because I got up to my higher self straight away. And there waiting on the bench was my great grandmother. And I cried and I cried and I cried because I just knew in my heart that that feeling was truly honored. So every 2 weeks I went back and I kept unpacking, and I was really, really ready. Like I had a rapid spiritual awakening. But through all that, why I was seeing my naturopath in the first place was I was going through, basically he was keeping me alive. Like every week I was seeing him to take home natural supplements because I was in chronic stress, burnout, insomnia, panic attacks, anxiety, all the fun things that come when you build a business that revolves solely around you and you don't actually let anyone else take the reins. And I was the breadwinner for the family. It was very, very stressful. And I knew my health couldn't keep doing that. So as I'm going through the spiritual awakening, and we're preparing for the dark night of the soul, because it's going to come at some point, mine was my company falling apart. So in the space of a week, I had 3 staff resign. And for someone that was trying to pull back, that I was trying to find more time for myself and my family because I didn't have that, I was on the ball in a mess crying, and I didn't want to get up because I was like, how am I going to find new staff? It's incredibly hard. I don't want to take on more work. I don't know what else to do. And my husband and my son were like, come on, get up, get up. My guides are like, you can get up, keep going, keep going. And I'm like, anyway, I did. I got up, I kept going. A month later, in the space of a week, I had another 3 staff resign. And by this point, I'm like really pissed off, I have to say. I was so angry. I was like yelling at the universe and incredibly angry. And I was like, I can't, like I'm doing everything. What is this about? I was so angry. And I did take it out on one of my staff that resigned. And I actually went in and I apologized to her. And I said, I do apologize. I understand why you're leaving. You just got the brunt of my anger because I'm really angry at the situation. I'm not angry at you. And this is where you take responsibility, right? Because she's like, I have so much more respect for you for doing that. I said, thank you. And then a month later, another 3 staff resigned in a week. And I can't make this stuff up. And by this point, I went.
And I love this sacred 9.
Exactly.
Completion.
I know.
It was like
we just
3,
went through
3, 3.
9. Yeah, and I always have things happen in 3s too. So it was just, it's funny. And at the same time, I went by that point, you know what? I'm not meant to run this company anymore. And these people aren't meant to be in my life. And I need to sell. And then my husband's like, I've been telling you for the whole year to sell your business. I'm like, I know, but anyone who's listening, if you've grown a business from scratch, it's like your baby, especially
Definitely.
when, I started it doing mobile house visits and things like that. And I truly started that business from the ground up. So it took me a while to mourn that. And then the person who took over was incredibly beautiful. And I always said to him, you bought my stress. Thank you very much. But that wasn't the end of the story. So then I stayed working for him because I'm like, yeah, I can do this, keep working, 3 days a week. It's fine. He paid me really well. And at the same time, my soul's like, this isn't fulfilling. This isn't fulfilling. We managed to somehow dissipate all the money we got from selling the business. And it was because I didn't believe I was worthy of it. So that's another whole other episode. But then what started to happen was at the start of this year, so just in March, we made this decision that we were going to sell our house. And it was a big decision because this was meant to be our forever house and our dream house, but it wasn't serving us anymore. It wasn't fulfilling what we wanted as a family. And I'm like, we need to sell it. And so we put the house on the market, and I was giving my resignation over to my boss. And intuitively, I heard, put the 30th of April as your last date. But I didn't want to do that because that was all in and that was a bit too scary. So I put, when the house sells, then I'll leave the business. Now, anyone listening, never condition things because the universe will not let you get away with that. And sure enough, my house didn't sell. And at the same time, because I was still there and I didn't want to be there, my soul knew I was done. Like being a speech therapist, knew I was finished. I started to go numb. So I lost feeling in my left pinky. And it spread up to the point I couldn't actually feel half my face. So I would go to all these amazing practitioners and sure enough, it would disappear. And then a couple of days later, it would come back. And I met with these beautiful intuitive healers that I met on my podcast, and they said to me, until you shift the root cause of what's causing the numbness, you will not improve. Like it can be from anything that they tell you it's from, but at the same time, it's going to keep getting worse and you're going to end up with an autoimmune. And I knew it was true in my heart because autoimmune had come up several times, because there's only so long you can stay in chronic stress without frying your system. So I was already precarious and still healing from that. And I went, I was come to the end of April and I was still working there when I was meant to be finishing. And I was doing this meditation with my coach, and he's like, what does your heart tell you to do? And it was this non-negotiable: quit. Like, you need to quit your job. This is your last warning. And that was the tone. This is your last warning. Quit, or you know what's going to happen, which is basically end up in autoimmune. So I had this massive argument with my husband because he's like, how are we going to pay the mortgage? And, why can't you just hold on? I'm like, I can't. I cannot hold on anymore. I need to quit. And he went through this whole thing because he's been a stay-at-home dad all this time, mind you. So he had to go back to work. I got to be home because truly I just wanted to be a mum. And as soon as I gave my boss the date, nearly all my symptoms went. I still had some numbness in my palm, which made sense because, I still had my hand in. And at the same time, the first day I got to be a stay-at-home mum, first priority, all my symptoms disappeared, every single one. And this is where your body holds so much wisdom, and really listening to your intuition and honoring it can save your life. Because I know in my heart, if I didn't do that, that numbness would have turned into something worse. And when you get to cross that autoimmune boundary, it's really hard to come back from that. So that is essentially how I am where I am today. I'm so passionate about teaching people to listen to what their heart truly wants, because when we live in alignment, our body gets to thrive, we get to thrive, and we get to serve how we want to serve in the world as well.
I know. I think you hit it on the head about asking exactly what your heart is saying. To me, that's the hardest threshold to cross, is really being that completely honest, like honest to your core. You're not just saying what you think someone wants to hear, or that what probably is, but just saying, this is exactly what I feel in my heart, and being in your body. And I know that I struggled with that too. And I know that's why I went into speech pathology, because I was like, well, I'm serving, I can make a good living, and I can make a difference. And it just checked off so many boxes as far as what society says you need to be happy. And so it's an interesting path. And it's a wonderful path, as far as helping people, but being part of the bureaucracy of the hospital system that I was in, that was a real, like, I went to work with a stomach ache every day because I just didn't like the structure of the health system, which I didn't realize how broken our health system was, treating symptoms instead of when you're, So these parallels are amazing. And I honor some people just throw over, they say, oh, it's my relationship. But you said, no, this is me. I gotta fix something, with me and my body. It's not my husband. I'm not gonna project on my employee or my husband or, my financial situation. This is me listening to my soul. I love how you did that.
Yeah. You know what? It takes courage. I'm not going to lie. It's scary. It's so scary. And especially when you are truly learning to trust your intuition, and I don't want to sugarcoat that for anyone. I didn't know where the money would come from. And yet, weirdly, somehow we always have enough. And this is the thing, like, money comes out of nowhere, and it literally comes out of nowhere. I'm like, what's this in my account? Oh, thank you. Oh, by the way, we ripped you off, like our internet provider. Oh, we ripped you off 2 years ago. We're giving you a refund now because the court told us we had to. I'm like, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Like random places that money will come from, because when you are in alignment, we're in this natural state of abundance. And once you work on your worth story, if you're finding that, you're always in that scarcity mindset, it's already red flagging. You need to do some work on your money story and see what's going on there. But at the same time, courage isn't something we're born with. You have to learn to be courageous, and you have to learn to take those little steps every day to honoring who you truly are deep down. People say, who am I? And they'll say, like, I'm a mom, I'm a business owner, I'm this and this. No, first and foremost, you are whoever you are meant to be at a soul level, and then all those other labels come afterwards.
In my book, I'm like, you're a divine being of light first.
Yep. Perfect.
So, okay. So one of the things we talked about pre-interview was you sharing how you clear your energy field so that you can get to your intuition, because we all know there's lots of muck that we have to get through in this 3D plane, and we're dealing with a lot of energies, whether it's from us, our genetics, our environment, whatever it is. So I would love for you to share a tip with the audience about how to clear so that you can know what the heck's even going on. Maybe your worthy story is part of it, but you don't even see it yet because you're just so stressed or hurting or whatever's going on with your symptoms.
Yeah. And we talked about 2 muscle testing. This is where muscle testing came in. So to learn to trust my intuition, I learned muscle testing. So muscle testing comes from kinesiology, and they will tell you not to do it on yourself, because how do you put a scientific placebo experiment on that, right? But you can use it on yourself, and it's really, really powerful because it teaches you to discern, so choose between and learn what is the voice in your head versus the voice in your heart, because they have very different energies. Although the ego does like to trick you occasionally and pretend to be your intuition. So it's good to know to check in. And so what I teach my clients, and even when I do my master classes, I always teach people that come, because if I can, and it's in the book as well, is muscle testing. So make sure, first of all, you're hydrated. And second of all, please do not use this for massive emotional decisions. Like, should I quit my job or not? Please don't use this because when it has an emotion attached to it, you're already predicting the outcome. But things like what I should eat, what clothes I should wear, what jewelry I should put on, do I make my background purple or pink? It doesn't matter. There's no emotional attachment to that. So, when you're using that, this is how you build it up. But then what happens one day, because this is how I started, what happens one day is you won't need to do the testing. You'll just already know the answer somehow. You might hear it, you might feel it, you might, sense it. And that is when you know you're in touch with your intuition. And that is when you know you've kind of jumped over that threshold. So this is the first thing I teach people. And then I'm going to share how to clear your energy as well. But the first thing we do, so all you have to do, doesn't matter what hand, is you make a circle and then you hook your finger through the other side. And then you're like, hey, soul, show me yes, show me no. And you haven't changed anything. Yeah, it's cool, hey? It's fun.
As soon as I thought no, it was like, swoop.
Yeah, exactly. And so Julie and I haven't changed how hard we're holding our fingers or anything like that. It's just purely does it. So then you can play with it. And you're like, hey, is my name Catherine? Is my name Julie? No. Am I a female? Am I a male? Can I have some wine? Yes. Should I have wine? No. Right? Different question. And this is where, because I don't care if I have a glass of wine or not. I know my body can't tolerate it, like if I drink it. So that's why I was like, should I have wine? Because I can, but it doesn't mean I should. So be very careful on what words you use as well. So I do it like one-handed. So I do it like a click. So I'm like, show me yes, show me no. But if you're starting off, this is like really easy to tell. Now, if you don't trust that, you can stand up. I'm on a ball, so I can roll. But you can stand up and you can put your hands across your chest like that and close your eyes and be like, hey, body, show me yes, show me no. It's so interesting. And you'll move just a little bit. So it depends on you. So I used to move for yes and not for no, but now I move for no and not for yes, which is really interesting. So always check back in and get your baseline first before you start doing
It's like a calibration. Like
exactly. Okay. It's very similar if people use a pendulum. It's the same sort of thing, right? But you're just using your body instead, because your body has that wisdom that you need. So once
it's like your internal dowsing rod,
100%. It's exactly what it is. Exactly. Mm-hmm. And, once you get really calibrated with that and then play around with it, and, like I said, makes it really quick going to a cafe. I have to say, if you have all these options to choose at a cafe, you do this and you'll know really quickly what to eat. And sometimes you think, I would never have ordered that. And then you eat it and you think it's the most amazing thing, and you have like a foodgasm because your body's like, oh my gosh, I just really needed this dish right now. So I've done that and been like, oh my goodness, I would have never ordered this, but this is amazing. So this is where your body actually knows more than you do. And some days I'll get dressed. This is back when I started. Be like, why am I putting pants on today? It's a hot day. And then sure enough, there was a cold front that came in, and I was so grateful I was wearing pants. So often our soul wisdom knows more than what we do. And, it's not constricted by time or what is around us. It just knows and taps into the divine light of the goddess and that sort of thing too. So, have fun with it and play with it. But, when you start doing any sort of spiritual work, we're like, if you imagine we're all electromagnetic beings, so we attract energy. And if you're like a person with your bubble and you meet another person with your bubble, you're going to cross over, and then you end up taking on their energy, whether you want to or not. So it's really good to clear your field. So there's 2 meditations I recommend to people. So one is like pulling in a beautiful colored light. So it can be any color that resonates with you. And you just imagine pulling it through your chakras. So starting at the top and then pulling through. But you want to make sure that you're clearing the back as well, because so often we focus on our front chakras and then we forget the back. And as it moves through all your chakras, then it's going to go out your legs, out your feet, down to Mother Earth. And Mother Earth is going to take whatever it's composted, take it out, and then throw back up a charged energy. And it's going to go all the way back up through your chakras, back up to divine spirit, God, goddess, whatever resonates with you. And then you can do 2 things. You can leave it like that, or you can pull it around you and clear all your aura and make it like a protective bubble. So I like doing the protective bubble because it makes you feel really safe in this beautiful color. And the other thing I recommend is, before people go to sleep, is clearing their field. And a friend taught me this meditation. So you just imagine yourself in a big field, whatever animals are there. Just make note, because sometimes the animals change and they're there to give you a message in itself too. And as you look down, you can see a beautiful rock circle around you. Whoever is inside that circle needs to get out. Even if it's your children, your partner, your friends, it doesn't matter. They need to be on the outside of the circle. They can stay close, but they need to be on the outside. And then once everyone's moved on the outside, you can pull in a beautiful beam of light. You can have a color again if you like, and it's just going to clear everything out. It's almost like you imagine it coming in going, like those kind of bombs kind of thing, but it's going to be a beautiful light bomb that clears your field. And if you just do that before you go to sleep, it helps you detach from any energies that you've interacted with that day, and it helps you separate out so that you know that your field is cleared just as you go to sleep.
That's beautiful. I like that. And it's a routine, and you're already laying down, so it's like, I hope people can integrate that and let us know. Let us know how
and
it
if you
works.
fall,
I wonder how that might change my dreams. I'm gonna try it. Yep. It's like, all right, guys. Wow. So, and then the other thing I wanted to talk about was water, because I noticed in your book, just going through what I was able to get through, a lot of the practices that you said in the beginning. I said make sure you're hydrated, and you had something you wanted to share about that.
So when I first, it was funny because I was checking with you how woo I can go. When I first started channeling for people, this beautiful galactic being called Delilah showed up. And she showed up for me originally when my spiritual mentor, Carly, when she was channeling for me. And Delilah, I want to say she's Pleiadian. I'm getting yes. She's like this Pleiadian energy. And she showed up and she's like, you need to be drinking 3 to 5 liters of water a day. I don't know what the American equivalent that is. I'm not sure. And I'm like, wow, that's a lot of water, because we get told to have, 1 to 2 liters or something like that. And I was like, and they're like, no, you need 3 to 5 liters. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to make a conscious effort to drink 3 to 5 liters. And I did. And if I went under 3 liters, I actually felt terrible. And people were like, oh, you must be peeing every 5 minutes. I said, no, I'm not. I said, I'm actually peeing less. And they're like, that doesn't make sense. And I was like, it doesn't, does it? And then, my husband actually just stumbled across this thing, and it said, if you're peeing a lot because you're drinking, your cells aren't absorbing the water. This is why it's really important to have salt, like mineral salt, because mineral salt helps your cells be more absorbent to the water so you can actually take it in. And then the other part is good water. So we are so bad at poisoning our water and killing the life in it. So water is actually a living energy. And
Mm-hmm.
if you don't believe this, there's so many experiments, but the most famous is Dr. Emoto's work. Yes, Emoto's work.
Go.
Yeah. His is the most famous. So what he did was he spoke to water and spoke different words like of gratitude, evil, love, and then he froze the water. And what happened, if you can Google it, it's so beautiful. The fractals that were created in the water and the crystalline structure when it was frozen, when there were positive, amazing words, there were such these intricate, beautiful designs. But when there were negative words like evil or greed or devil, there were these terrible, ugly looking things. And it shows that you can actually speak intentions into your water. So you can actually, hold a glass of water and you can put your hand over it if you want to. That's another thing. But, you can speak into your water and hold that energy over it. Same when you're cooking with your food. If you're thinking really negative thoughts when you're cooking, that food's going to taste like crap. But if you think cooking the same meal and you're thinking really positive things, it's actually going to be really uplifting. And this is like from even Hindu traditions and Indian cooking. They believe in putting positive intentions over the food in Ayurveda, and putting all those intentions in. So when Delilah came through and she's like, oh, you need to drink 3 to 5 liters of water, I was like, okay, I'll make a conscious effort. So I always get pushback. I always get, I can't drink that much water. I'm going to be peeing nonstop. And I was like, I don't know. This is what they're saying you need to do. You need to have good water, and good water is spring water or really purified water. And please don't drink out of plastic bottles because the plastic leaches into the water. It's not good water anymore. So for me, we have a whole house water filter that takes the chlorine and the fluoride out of the water. Fluoride does not help your teeth. I just want to emphasize that. It's actually there to numb your brain. And if you think I'm making this up, fluoride was used in the food in concentration camps by the Nazis to keep the prisoners more subdued. So it lowers your IQ and it lowers your ability to think. So this is if you're drinking that all the time, you're not going to be free thinking. You're not going to be able to tune into your intuition because you're going to actually have like constant brain fog almost, so. And then I remineralize the water and put it back in. But you can put like your water in the moon, under the moon can charge it up, especially a full moon. You can put it in the sun can charge it up. There's all that you can put crystals in it, just not selenite because selenite's water soluble, so do not put selenite in. You will not have a selenite left, but you can put quartz in it, and this is why people are like, oh, you can buy the crystal things. Don't even worry about that. Just put your little crystals in. It's fine, and
or even put it beside it,
yes,
like it doesn't have to be in, just around.
100%.
I love I don't have it right now. It's on my desk upstairs, but I have a blue glass bottle. It tastes so good when I put it in there. But yeah,
it's the color, the frequency of the color. Only one day, 3 to 5 liters. So what she said was the first 3 liters is actually to purify your body because you have all these toxins that build up from the air that we breathe in, the food, the water, everything. Like we're constantly exposed to toxins. So the first 3 liters every day is actually just letting your body keep running. It's helping things flush through. It's helping things move out of your body. And the next liters that you drink after that actually activates your DNA. So what that means is we have DNA that's dormant, and they call it junk DNA in the science realm because they don't know what it does. It's actually not junk DNA. It's galactic coding, it's angelic coding, whatever term resonates for you. It's our soul divine blueprint, and it will only activate and come online when you're ready. So the more you drink water, it helps your, I guess, spiritual gifts and your spiritual alignment continue to activate and continue to keep coming online so it can keep upgrading and evolving as well. Because when you go up to a higher frequency and when you move up to a higher level, I guess, in your spiritual development, you need more water because your body needs to purge what it no longer needs to sit at that frequency as well. So this is where having that 3 to 5 liters of water is really important because your body actually needs it to continue to step up. And from a physical point of view, if you're doing muscle testing, if you're dehydrated, you're not going to respond properly because your body's working so hard, it's sluggish. It's almost like you imagine you're trying to go through jelly, to try and get the message through, instead of going through these lovely, water passages that are just easily transferring everything. This is the importance of water and why it's so important to make sure you drink good water, not
Nice.
not bad water.
Right, right. And there's so many great filters out there, and you can test it with strips. I cannot remember the author, but there's a scientist who has studied extensively water and specifically the way water is in our cells. And water changes from a liquid to another. It's not a gas.
Plasma
It's
state.
yes, it's activated water, and it actually changes the polarity, and it helps us be more efficient with our energy consumption, and like you're saying, everything we want to do is elevated when you have that activated water in your cells. So that might be the threshold that's passed after you have the 3 liters. Then you
Yeah.
start getting your activated water in your cells, which is totally different and such a miracle inside our bodies that water behaves more like a crystalline structure within our beautiful cells.
I
The
want to
4th
say,
state of water. Yeah, I have it up on my. It's a volume, and I did catch him. He was on a podcast when he was talking, and now I understand why his book is so long. He is very, very scientific, and he's
well,
amazing. But it's just like, whoa, so much knowledge, and it's so amazing. When you get down to it, it's like
exactly.
your
And
body's a miracle, and water does amazing things.
100. And there's a line in Frozen too, and it's Olaf's like, water has memories, and it's actually true. And it's really interesting the more you unpack things. Like you look at a river and you just think, oh, it's just water running through a river. But if you actually sit and listen to the river, it'll tell you the story of where it's come from and where it's going, and it's really amazing to actually tune in that way too.
Okay, so back to the salt thing that you mentioned real quick about you can make sure you have enough of the pure salt. We're not talking of the ionized, like the stuff you buy at the grocery store for like 50 cents. No, we're talking about Celtic sea salt, like Himalayan, like pure salt from the earth. It's tiny crystals, and those crystals help with your connectivity, and they have a consciousness too. So I started blessing my salt, and
I love it.
it's beautiful. It tastes so good. It's like, oh my gosh. And I'm doing my warm water with lemon juice, a little cinnamon, a little ginger, and now I'm sprinkling a little salt in there, and it's just like delicious in the morning. I don't even want my coffee. I'm like, hello.
I love that because I start my day with warm water with lemon, and then I sometimes add ginger, but I put in the Celtic salt, so I use the Celtic. So for anyone listening, there's a lot of stuff floating around the media at the moment trying to taint these salts. So Himalayan's one that's a little bit iffy because where it comes from can depend on how it was taken out of the earth, and it can actually compromise the quality of it. Whereas Celtic seems a lot safer, but they're trying to taint that too. And I'm telling you this not to cause fear, but I'm telling you this because sometimes narratives are spread to stop something that they know that works because that's just
and if
how it works.
the powers that be have been putting fluoride in our water, I mean, I'm not saying that our city officials understand, but if it's like, oh, national recommendation, FDA, it just takes one nefarious group to say, yeah, let's do this. And then people to follow and not question. Yeah.
But so the magic thing, like you said, about the Celtic and the Himalayan is because it's from the ground, it has a natural grounding frequency too. So it's really good to ground you. And if you have a headache or a migraine, before you reach for the painkiller and numb it, because that's what we're being conditioned to do, try putting a bit of rock salt, that's like the proper term, rock salt under your tongue. And it actually, 90% of the time, it'll get rid of your headache, which is really interesting. So, these are just things you can just do at home and experiment with, right? But, the salt, it's so powerful. Like we think about when we get conjunctivitis, we use salt water and it will wipe it away and keep it away. If we have gum infections, you can gargle salt. But the whole point of the salt is that a lot of people think you die of dehydration, right? If you're lost in the desert, you actually die quicker from salt loss. So you have these 12 mineral salts in your body. And if you're low on any of those, and even if you have water, you're still going to die because your body actually needs the salts to function and conduct the energy in our body. Our body's actually an electrical circuit in itself. So as you were saying, the water in its fourth state carries a charge, but our heart actually creates the biggest charge. So our heart energy, when it beats, it's actually setting out an electrical current, and that's how our field gets created. So if you're not having enough salt, your cells aren't actually going to be able to absorb the water. It's not going to be able to have that beautiful conduct with the electrical charges and do what it needs to do. So this is why it's so important. And, we've been so conditioned not to put, salt's bad, salt will give you a heart attack, and no. Put that narrative outside. It's no longer serving us as humans. We need to actually remineralize, because unfortunately our soil has been tainted with, we don't get as much nutrients from our food anymore. And this is why salt's really, really important to help get those minerals. And I think Celtic salt has like 62 plus minerals and vitamins in it or something.
I know it. I mean, I have a bag up there. It's like there's different color salt in there. You can really see. It's wonderful.
That's the beauty of having salt as well with your water too.
Yeah, and if you look at what it costs, I don't know in Australia if they have like Gatorade and Powerade in that, but if you look at buying electrolytes, it's awful. But you look at what you spend on a 12-pack of that, and then you look at a bag of salt, like Celtic salt, and it's so much cheaper and so much better for you.
And you can even have a glass and put your salt in, really charge up that, and then you can just pour off that and dilute it and constantly keep diluting it, and it ends up being, keeps going a lot further. But we just use salt all the time. We love salt in our house, as long as it's not the iodized salt.
Right. No, don't do the iodized. And I think that's why people like margaritas so much, because the rim of the glass is salt, and we need that. And I love to make like a mocktail margarita with lime juice, a little seltzer water, and then you sprinkle the salt in there, and your taste buds are like, yeah, this is a margarita. This is awesome. And then you don't feel bad after. So I'm with you. I'm with you about not being able to have the wine. After my dark night of the soul and regrouping, the wine just didn't serve me anymore. And even God whispered in my ear, don't drink alcohol. And I listened, and I'm glad I did.
Yeah, it's interesting, because I had to unpack a lot of stuff in my liver. I had to get friendly with my anger. That was part of it. But at the same time, it's like I can have it, but I don't want it. I rather actually go get a really nice non-alcoholic wine. And then I'm actually quite happy, because I did like the taste. I wasn't drinking it in the end, like when you're a teenager, you drink it to get drunk. Well, in America, it's you're 21 technically. But, in here it was 18. Our legal age for drinking is 18, if not before then. But, you drink it to get drunk because it's such a fun thing, and it's a cultural thing too. And it's really interesting. Someone put this post up, someone I was following, saying, hey, if you don't drink, do you want mocktails at a party? And I was like, yeah, why should we have to feel like we're missing out because we don't have alcohol? Like, half the time I don't want the juice because it's not real juice anyway. I don't drink soft drinks. So all I'm left with drinking all night is water. To have the option of a mocktail would be really lovely, actually.
Right. Yeah, just like a seltzer water and a little citrus squeezed in it, or
or some passion fruit, yum.
Yeah. Throw a sprig of mint in there. It's a mocktail. I mean, it doesn't have to be complicated, but it's just reassessing. You don't go and pick up a 12-pack of, and then you got to be careful, because some of the seltzers are in bad packaging. Like those LaCroix cans have the plastic lining, and so you have to be careful. But, glass seltzer water. Yeah.
Just do good 90% of the time, and it'll be okay.
Right.
And just try your best with the intention. And sometimes if you really want that cheeseburger, have the intention that you're eating it and honoring it, because if you feel guilty eating it, that's when your body's going to reject it, and you're going to feel really terrible. So, don't have this guilt about like, oh no, I want some ice cream, or, I can't have ice cream. No, don't feel that way. Like, if you genuinely, and I eat intuitively. So some days I'll eat one meal, some days I'll eat no meals, some days I'll eat 5 meals because I'm starving because of whatever's going on in my body. But it's been like really tuned into your body and eating intuitively can be really powerful too. And sometimes, you might want to go get the hot chips, maybe find somewhere that cooks it in tallow if you can, because that's magical. But if you
So
can't,
good.
maybe make them yourself. Just find ways
Mhm.
around it to still honor what your body wants to.
I love that. And there's more and more in the States, there's more and more restaurants honoring the tallow, and, people are getting aware of the
How
inflammatory
terrible
consequence of
seed
seed
oils are.
oil.
Yeah.
Seed oil is vegetable oil, people. Vegetable oil is terrible for your inflammation and all that. So that's a whole nother show. So you have classes online and you're a coach, and do you have any offerings coming up that people can sync up with you if they're resonating and want more?
Free 30-minute call, which is like a genuine coaching healing call. There's no sales,
Nice.
I promise. But I just want to see where you are stuck on your journey and help you get through to the next thing. And usually every month I run a masterclass. So next month, I think it'll be the start of October. And the masterclass is about owning your courageous no and really learning the power of that, because so often, especially as mums, we find it really hard to say no to other people and we forget to say yes to ourselves. And sometimes we need to say no to ourselves too, especially if we're guilty of people pleasing. Sometimes we actually need to learn to say no to stepping out of that. So it's all about empowerment. It's about reclaiming your no so that you can leave this beautiful legacy for your children, and they can see the power of standing in their powerful no as well, and how amazing boundaries actually are to have in your life.
Beautiful. I love it. I mean, that's really great to have a different masterclass every month. You can cycle through a lot of topics and divinity and empowerment. So thank you for doing that. This has been such a pleasure. Thanks, Catherine, for being on our show.
Thank you for having me, Julie. I loved it. Thank you so much.
And thank you, Delilah, for your messages.
Thank you.
Exactly. All right, take care.